There's a quiet lie sitting at the center of modern retirement advice. It doesn't scream. It doesn't look dangerous. In fact, it often comes dressed as guidance, responsible, even helpful. It tells you that the size of your savings account is the only thing that matters, that if your number isn't big enough, you've failed. And if you have a pension and Social Security waiting for you, well, those are just nice extras. Bonuses, side dishes to the main meal of your 401k. But what if I told you that lie has cost more people their peace of mind than almost any other piece of retirement advice out there? What if the thing you've been treating like a side dish is actually the main course? What if the pension you earned and the Social Security you paid into for 40 years are worth far more than the spreadsheet ever showed you? What if the way you've been taught to look at retirement has been pointing your eyes at the wrong number this entire time? Today, we're going to talk about something most people get completely backwards. If you have a pension and Social Security coming your way, there are decisions you need to make before you claim. Decisions that could mean tens of thousands of dollars, maybe hundreds of thousands, over the course of your retirement. And most people make these decisions blind. They sign a form, they check a box, they walk out of an office and never look back. And then 30 years later, they wonder why things didn't go the way they hoped. So stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to see your retirement income in a completely different light. You're going to understand what you actually have, what it's actually worth, and how to make it work for you instead of against you. Let's get into it. Before we continue, if you haven't hit that subscribe button yet, this would be a really good time to do it. I make videos like this every week, and I promise I'm not here to scare you or sell you anything. I'm here to give you clarity, the kind of clarity that helps you sleep at night, the kind of clarity that lets you stop carrying around that low, humming worry that something important is being missed. Now let me tell you about two people I know. I'll call them Patricia and Ruth. They're both 64 years old. They both worked their whole lives. They both have pensions, and they both have Social Security coming. On paper, you'd think they were in roughly the same boat, but their retirements look completely different, and the reason why is going to surprise you. Patricia worked as a nurse for 38 years at a regional hospital. She has a pension that will pay her about $2,400 a month for the rest of her life. Her Social Security, if she waits until her full retirement age of 67, will add another $2,100 a month. She saved about $185,000 in her 403b. Her house is paid off. She lives in a modest 3-bedroom in a quiet neighborhood with a porch she actually sits on in the evenings. Ruth was an accountant for a mid-sized firm. She has a pension that will pay her $2,200 a month. Her Social Security at full retirement age will be $2,300 a month. She saved $620,000 in her 401k. She lives in a slightly bigger home, also paid off, in the suburbs. On paper, Ruth looks like she's winning, more than 3 times the savings of Patricia. If you put their two statements side by side, any financial advisor in the country would say Ruth is the success story. But here's what happens behind closed doors. Patricia sleeps just fine at night. She knows exactly what's coming in. She knows her bills. She knows her grocery budget. She's planning a trip to see her grandkids in the spring without checking her account balance twice. Ruth, on the other hand, checks her brokerage account 3 times a week. Every time the market dips, her stomach drops with it. She delays small purchases. She second-guesses dinner out with friends. She turns down a weekend at the lake because she just saw her portfolio drop 4%. She's got more than 3 times the savings, and yet she's the one who feels behind. How is that possible? How can the person with less feel more secure than the person with more? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack, because the answer changes everything about how you should think about claiming your pension and your Social Security. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. It will change how you read your own retirement statement forever. Here's the thing. The real question isn't how much have you saved. The real question is, how much guaranteed income will show up in your account every single month for the rest of your life, no matter what the market does, no matter what the economy does, no matter what happens. That's the question. And almost nobody is asking it. Think of your retirement in 2 parts. Not one big number, 2 distinct piles. Pile 1 is income that shows up no matter what. Your pension, your Social Security, maybe an annuity if you have one. This pile is bulletproof. It doesn't care about the stock market. It doesn't care about inflation as much as you think. It just keeps coming, month after month, year after year. Whether it's a boom or a recession, it shows up like clockwork. Pile 2 is your savings. Your 401k, your IRA, your brokerage account. This pile is helpful, but it's exposed. It moves with the market. It can shrink, it can stress you out, it can make you feel rich one month and poor the next. And here's what nobody tells you. Most retirees who feel secure aren't the ones with the biggest pile 2. They're the ones with the strongest pile 1. That's what Patricia has, a strong pile 1. Between her pension and her Social Security at 67, she'll have about $4,500 a month coming in guaranteed. Her expenses run about $3,800 a month. She has a surplus every single month. Her savings? That's gravy. That's for the unexpected, the trips, the gifts to grandkids. It's not her lifeline, it's her bonus. Ruth has $4,500 guaranteed too, almost identical. But because she's been told her whole life that the number in her 401k is what matters, she sees herself as a savings account first and an income earner second. She treats her guaranteed income like it's not even there. And that mental flip is the difference between peace and panic. Same income, same expenses, two completely different experiences of retirement. So before you make any decision about when to claim your pension or your Social Security, you need to understand what they're actually worth, not in monthly payments, in total value, because most people have no idea. They look at the monthly number and shrug. They have no concept of the wealth that number represents. Let me ask you something. Have you ever calculated what your pension is actually worth in real dollars? Most people never do. Let me show you how to think about it. If your pension pays you $2,000 a month for life, that's $24,000 a year. If you retire at 65 and live to 90, that's $600,000 in payments, and that's before any cost of living adjustments. Now, to replace that pension with a private annuity in today's market, you'd need to hand over somewhere between $400,000 and $500,000 to an insurance company. That's the lump sum value of your pension. So when you tell me you only have $185,000 in your 401k, but you also have a $2,000 monthly pension, you don't have $185,000 in retirement assets. You have closer to $685,000. Let that sink in. Your pension isn't a side note. It's a massive financial asset. It just doesn't show up on your statement. It's invisible to your monthly account balance, but it's there, quietly working in the background, quietly building the foundation under your feet. And once you start to see it that way, your whole sense of where you stand begins to shift. Social Security works the same way. If your full benefit at 67 is $2,300 a month, that's $27,600 a year. Over 25 years of retirement, that's $690,000. And Social Security comes with cost of living adjustments, so that number actually grows over time. The true value of a lifetime Social Security benefit for the average retiree is often north of $700,000. Think of it this way. Your income floor is like the foundation of your house. Strong, underground, invisible, but holding everything up. Your savings? That's more like the furniture. Nice to have, comfortable. But if the foundation cracks, the furniture doesn't save you. And if the foundation is solid, you can replace the furniture as needed. Most people obsess over the furniture and ignore the foundation. They watch their 401k every day. They never once stop to calculate what their pension and Social Security combined are actually worth. And then they wonder why they feel anxious. The anxiety isn't about the numbers, it's about the lens. Change the lens, and the same exact numbers tell a very different story. Suddenly you go from feeling behind to realizing you've been quietly ahead the whole time. Okay, so now that you understand what you actually have, let's talk about the decisions. Because if you have a pension and Social Security, you have choices to make. And these choices are not small. They will follow you for the rest of your life. Get them right, and you maximize your income. Get them wrong, and you leave real money on the table. Real money that could have paid for a grandchild's wedding, a kitchen renovation, or simply more peace. Decision 1. When to take Social Security. You can claim as early as 62. You can wait until your full retirement age, which is somewhere between 66 and 67, depending on when you were born. Or you can delay all the way to 70, and every year you delay past your full retirement age, your benefit grows by about 8%. Guaranteed, no market risk, just growth. Think about that. Where else in the financial world can you get a guaranteed 8% annual return with zero risk? Nowhere. It doesn't exist. And yet most people claim Social Security as early as they can. They leave that 8% on the table year after year, often without realizing what they're walking away from. It's one of the most expensive defaults in American retirement. Here's a question for the married folks. Have you and your spouse ever actually talked about what happens if one of you is gone? Because this is where Social Security timing gets really important. When one spouse passes, the surviving spouse keeps the larger of the two benefits. The smaller one disappears. So if you're the higher earner, delaying your benefit doesn't just help you, it protects your spouse for the rest of their life. It's one of the most loving financial decisions you can make. Now, I'm not telling you to wait until 70. That's not always the right answer. If you have health issues, if your family history shows shorter lifespans, if you genuinely need the income to live on, claiming earlier might be smart. But the point is, this is a decision, not a default. And too many people default into 62 because that's what their friends did, because their neighbor told them to grab the money while it's still there, or because it just feels like the thing to do. None of those are real reasons. They're just noise dressed up as wisdom. Decision 2, how to take your pension. Most pensions give you choices. A single life payout, which pays you the most per month but stops when you die. A joint and survivor option, which pays you a bit less but continues to pay your spouse after you're gone. Sometimes a lump sum buyout, where they hand you a check and you walk away. And here's where it gets emotional, because the single life option always looks the most attractive on paper. Bigger monthly number, more cash in your pocket right now. But if you're married, that single life option is a gamble, a bet that you'll outlive your spouse. And if you lose that bet, your spouse loses everything from your pension. Every dollar of it. Gone. Imagine the grief of losing your partner compounded by the shock of losing the income that paid the mortgage. That's a wound on top of a wound. The joint and survivor option costs you somewhere between 10 and 30% of your monthly benefit. It feels like a loss, but it's not a loss. It's an insurance policy, one that pays out to the person you love most if something happens to you. For most married couples, the joint and survivor option is the right call. Not always, but most of the time. And the smaller monthly check you accept today is the love letter you leave behind tomorrow. Inflation is like an ice cube in the sun. It doesn't melt all at once. It creeps, it nudges, it slowly raises the cost of everything around you. Your groceries, your insurance, your health care. And here's where pensions and Social Security split. Social Security has cost of living adjustments built in. Most years it goes up. Slowly, quietly, but it goes up. Most private pensions do not have COLA adjustments. The $2,000 a month you get at 65 is the same $2,000 a month you get at 85. But the dollar in 85 buys a lot less than the dollar at 65. So while your pension is a beautiful bulletproof foundation, it's a foundation that slowly shrinks in real purchasing power over time. It's not a flaw, it's just a feature you need to plan around. And once you know it's coming, you can prepare for it instead of being blindsided by it 10 or 15 years into retirement. This is exactly why your savings matter, but not in the way you've been told. Your savings aren't your primary income source. They're your inflation buffer. They're the thing that fills the gap as your pension's purchasing power slowly erodes over the decades. They're a complement to your guaranteed income, not a replacement for it. That single mental shift takes pressure off your portfolio and gives it a clearer job. If this content resonates with you, the subscribe button is right there. I never waste my viewers' time. I want this channel to be the place you come when you want straight talk about retirement. No hype, no fear, no nonsense. Just real conversations about real decisions. Okay, let's talk about something almost nobody calculates. The break-even point. If you delay Social Security from 62 to 67, you get a much bigger monthly check, but you also gave up 5 years of payments. So when does the bigger check actually pay off? For most people, the break-even point is somewhere around age 78 to 80, meaning if you live past 80, delaying was the right call. You'll come out ahead, sometimes by a lot. If you don't live past 80, claiming at 62 was the better math. But here's the thing, we're not just doing math, we're planning for a life. And the cost of running out of money at 85 is far worse than the cost of leaving some money on the table by claiming early. One regret is a missed vacation. The other regret is being 87 and afraid to turn the heat up in winter. Think about it this way. Claiming early protects you against dying early. Claiming late protects you against living long. And for most healthy people, the bigger risk is living a long time with not enough monthly income to support it. That's the risk Social Security delay is designed to protect you from. It's longevity insurance, plain and simple. And it's one of the best deals the government still offers. There's a concept that floats around the retirement world that I want you to understand. It's called sequence of returns risk. It sounds technical, but it's actually simple. If the stock market drops big in the first few years of your retirement, and you're pulling money out at the same time, your portfolio can never recover. Even if the market bounces back later, the damage is done. The shares you sold to pay your bills are never coming back. But here's the beautiful thing. If most of your income comes from a pension and Social Security, sequence of returns risk barely touches you. You don't have to sell stocks during a downturn to pay your bills. Your bills are already covered. Your savings get to ride out the storm and recover. That's a quiet, massive advantage that pension and Social Security holders have. It's the kind of advantage millionaires without pensions are desperately trying to recreate. They're buying annuities. They're building bond ladders. They're doing all kinds of complicated things just to manufacture what you already have. You may already have what people with millions are searching for. Read that line again, because it changes everything about how you should feel walking into retirement. Let me tell you what Patricia and Ruth ended up doing. Patricia decided to wait until 67 for her full Social Security benefit. Between now and then, she's working part-time at her old hospital. just 2 days a week, mostly because she enjoys it. The income covers her expenses while her Social Security keeps growing in the background. She took the joint and survivor option on her pension because her husband retired 3 years ago and she wants him protected if something happens to her. Ruth, on the other hand, almost claimed Social Security at 62. Her financial advisor pushed her toward it because she had so much in savings. The logic was, take the money now, let your investments grow. But when she actually mapped it out, she realized that her bigger Social Security check at 67 would mean she'd have to pull less from her investments. Less stress on her portfolio, more peace of mind. She also chose the joint and survivor option for her pension. Same reason, husband protection. And the funny thing is, once she made these two decisions, her anxiety started to fade. Not because her savings number changed, it didn't, but because she finally saw the whole picture. She finally understood her foundation. She finally felt the weight of her guaranteed income. Here's a question. If you had to choose between more money or more certainty, which would it be? Keep that in your head as we go, because most people say they want more money, but what they actually need, what their nervous system is begging for, is more certainty. And certainty doesn't come from a bigger portfolio. It comes from a bigger income floor. It comes from knowing the rent is paid no matter what happens on Wall Street tomorrow. Now, I want to share something practical with you. 5 things to do before you claim. 5 steps to actually take, not just think about. Because thinking is nice, but action is what changes your life. First, get your Social Security statement. Go to ssa.gov and create an account if you don't have one. Pull your statement. Look at your projected benefits at 62, at full retirement age, and at 70. See the difference. Feel the difference. Most people have never actually looked at these numbers side by side, and the gap will shock you. Second, get your pension projection. Call your former employer or your pension administrator. Ask for a written estimate of your monthly benefit under every available payout option. Single life, joint and survivor at 50%, at 75%, at 100%. See what each one pays. Compare the numbers. Don't guess. Get the actual figures in writing. Keep them in a folder you can come back to. Third, add up your total guaranteed monthly income. Pension plus Social Security at your chosen claiming age. Write it down. Then write down your expected monthly expenses in retirement. Be honest. Include healthcare, which most people underestimate by a mile. If your guaranteed income covers your essential expenses, you're in a stronger position than 90% of retirees. Fourth, calculate the lifetime value of your guaranteed income. Take your monthly amount, multiply by 12, then multiply by 25 years. That's a rough estimate of what your pension and Social Security are actually worth. Look at that number. Sit with it. Realize that you have an asset that's probably worth more than your entire savings account. That number is real. It just doesn't show up on a statement. Fifth, have the conversation with your spouse. Not a quick chat, a real sit-down conversation about what happens if you go first, about what happens if they go first, about which pension option protects them, about when each of you should claim Social Security. This conversation is uncomfortable. Most couples avoid it. Don't be most couples. Pour 2 cups of coffee, sit at the kitchen table, and talk for an hour. That hour might be the most valuable hour of your retirement planning. Some things in life are heavy, but invisible. Like carrying a backpack all day, you get used to it, but it never goes away. That's what financial stress feels like in retirement. It doesn't show up as a panic attack. It shows up as not opening the mail, as avoiding the calculator, as changing the subject when your spouse brings up money, as a tightness in your chest you can't quite name. And the only way to set that backpack down is to actually look inside it, to know what's there, to understand what you have. Because what you have, if you have a pension and Social Security, is probably more than you realize. The fear isn't from a lack of resources. It's from a lack of clarity about the resources you already have. Clarity is the cheapest, most powerful asset you can give yourself in retirement. And the wild thing is, you don't need a financial advisor to give it to you. You just need an afternoon, a calculator, and the willingness to actually look. There's one more thing I want to mention before we wrap up, and it's the thing that almost nobody talks about: taxes. Your Social Security can be taxed, up to 85% of it, depending on your other income. Your pension is taxed as ordinary income, and your 401k withdrawals are taxed too. The order in which you pull from these accounts matters a lot. The same retirement, run in 2 different tax orders, can leave you with very different amounts of money at the end of the day. For some people, it makes sense to pull from savings first and delay Social Security, because that keeps your taxable income lower in your 60s and lets your Social Security grow. For others, it makes sense to claim Social Security early and let investments grow. There's no one-size-fits-all answer, but the tax piece is real, and it's worth sitting down with a fee-only advisor for a single afternoon to map it out. And I do mean fee-only, not someone who gets a commission for selling you an annuity, not someone who wants to manage your portfolio for a percentage forever, someone who charges you a flat fee, gives you a written plan, and lets you walk out the door with it. That advice, that single afternoon, could be worth tens of thousands of dollars over your retirement, maybe more. It's not about who has more saved, it's about who has more certainty. And the people who walk into retirement with a pension and Social Security have access to a kind of certainty that millionaires often spend their whole lives trying to manufacture. You just have to understand it. You have to claim it correctly. You have to make the right choices at the right time, and you have to stop apologizing for not having a seven-figure portfolio when you already have something better. So here's where we land. There are people with millions of dollars who don't feel secure, and there are people with modest savings who sleep soundly every night. The difference isn't the number. The difference is understanding. Understanding your income, understanding your expenses, understanding what actually matters. That's the difference between stress and peace. If you have a pension and Social Security, you have something powerful, something many people in your generation will never have, something the next generation may never get. Treat it like the gift it is. Make the decisions about it carefully. Don't default. Don't rush. Don't let someone else's advice override what's right for you and your family. Sit down with the numbers. Have the hard conversations. Make the choices that protect not just you, but the person sitting next to you on the couch. Because retirement isn't about how much you've accumulated. It's about whether your income can support your life. And if you have a pension and Social Security, your life is more supported than you've ever let yourself feel. That's the truth. That's the gift. That's the foundation. Now go build the rest of your life on top of it, not the life someone else told you to want, the actual one waiting for you on the other side of all that careful work. If this video helped you see your retirement in a new way, hit that subscribe button right now. I've got a whole lot more where this came from. I'll see you in the next one. Take care of yourself.